Hi, everyone. Welcome to VCTV. We have new faces today, and we have got three speakers from Singapore. I'm so excited. Singapore raising bar on my sessions. So I'm really happy. So VCTV is the venture capital TV from LATOKEN. Those of you who are regular speakers, you know the motto, the goal of VCTV is to connect investors with founders and startups. Because due to coronavirus, we couldn't go on roadshows, couldn't meet each other physically at conferences. So the whole idea was to bring that experience somehow digitally, and and there you are. This is the whole purpose of VCTV, to connect speakers who are investors and startups and entrepreneurs like yourself under one platform, so we can share insights, we can share experiences, share knowledge, network, collaborate, and whatnot. So welcome back to another episode of VCTV. So before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LATOKEN. I'm based here in Singapore. I host these shows Monday till Friday. Now I host it twice in a week. So it's 6:30 p.m. Singapore and 8 p.m. Singapore. How about that? Because I love VCTV. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. So today's topic is on impact and sustainable investments. This topic is really, really close to my heart. And as I have been moderating or hosting this topic, I have learned a lot from our seasoned and experienced speakers. I have to admit, I wasn't aware before I started moderating, what was impact, what sustainable investments were, or what the whole thing is about. However, thank you to the speakers. They have actually, I have graduated, I honestly have to say, from 0 to probably I would say 8 right now. Yes, 8. So thank you so much for your time. I know some of you are tuning in from US, probably, which is 5 a.m. over there. I really, really thank you from bottom of my heart, really, to be honest, because that shows the kind of commitment and the passion you have for VCTV. Having said that, I would like to jump into the introductions of our speakers, because we've got a 1-hour show and we have got too many speakers today, some new speakers from Singapore, and I'm really, really excited about that. I'd like to start with Singapore. So speakers, please do a short introduction about yourself. Then we go around houses and ask questions. I'd like to start with Simran, who just joined us for the first time. Hi, Simran. We spoke before we went live. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Sunny and Carol from LATOKEN. I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. My name is Simarna Singh. Please feel free to call me Sim. Just a quick introduction on myself, of course. I'm a youth social entrepreneur. I'm only 23 years old, pretty young, and super excited to be here and give my perspective as well. For the last 3 years, I've been very strongly advocating the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and embedded this within my business as well. We're a social enterprise. We manufacture handmade coconut products and export it out of the Singapore ecosystem as well. We're at the moment committing to 12 out of 17 of the sustainable goals, and trying to make a difference really in the lives of the coconut farmers and the women communities who live below $1.90 a day. I'm also proud to share I'm a United Nations Youth Ambassador. So very, very grateful to have had the opportunity to speak at high-level events and political conferences. And I'm super excited to be here. And I look forward to discuss how we can make a measurable impact together and accelerate this conversation further. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Sim, for that intro, and welcome to VCTV. And next, I'd like to go to Kathy. Hi. Welcome to VCTV.
Hi. It's so nice to meet everyone here. So I'm Kathy, and I'm from Singapore as well. So currently I'm a venture fellow at Vantage Ventures, and I myself am an entrepreneur, and so I have dabbled in a little bit of entrepreneur in my early days, and I have worked with a lot of startups that are eco aggregators. So they try to promote more conscious consumption among other consumers in the world. And I think that is very important because especially with today, a lot of the consumption is very wasteful. So I think it is important for us to understand how much of how much waste is happening around the world and how we can have an impact on that. And also social advocacy is a passion of mine. I've been volunteering since at a very tender age, and I'm really glad to be here to speak more about this topic, and I love to hear what everyone else has to say.
Excellent. Fantastic, Kathy. Welcome to VC TV. So next I'd like to go to Clara. Hi, Clara. Welcome back. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me back here again.
Welcome. Please help introduce yourself to the speakers that we have today.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Clara. I'm the General Manager of XNode in Singapore. Our headquarters is in Shanghai, and we work with Enterprise Singapore, the government, to send Singapore startups to China. We provide them with market access in China, but also together with our European arm, we build deep tech ventures from Singapore to assess the rest of the world. And these ventures are sustainable, and they are solving societal challenges, mainly solving the problems of the UN SDGs, really.
Excellent. And welcome back, Clara. Next, I'd like to go Florian, Malta. Hello, Florian. Welcome back. How are you?
Hello, Sonny. Yeah, thank you. I'm doing well. Still in Malta, at least for the next months, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a social entrepreneur and serial entrepreneur. I started in the tech space. Now I run a cryptocurrency called Neko. It's a stable currency for the common good. And we provide or generate profits for our investors, but also provide universal basic income to all our users and offset their carbon footprint and plant trees. So we have a social and environmental cause. Our mission is to build a new financial system that serves the people and the planet. And sustainability has always been one of my top priorities. You have been an investor for 10 years, and all my investments were always around green technology, solar energy, and so on. But now I think, now I changed more to crypto because I think the main problem we're facing today is our financial system. And that needs to be replaced. And we're currently in a very good situation. I think the era of exponential growth is coming to an end now. And we're seeing a new era coming up, an era of health and sustainability. And so I'm really excited to be living in these times of massive change, where I think in the end, it will be for the better for everyone, for humanity and for the planet.
Absolutely. That's what we want. Thank you so much, Florian. Next, Gary. Oh, it's been a long time, Gary.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's unbelievable. Like 30 minutes.
Right. Welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you. So my name is Gary Fowler, and I am the CEO and president of GSD Venture Studios, premier AI venture studio. We work all over the world looking for incredible AI startups that we can curate. I've had 2 unicorns. My latest one I started 4 years ago, and it's an AI company with HR Tech. David Yang, who's a billionaire from Russia, is my partner in that project. I'm also a venture capitalist. I have private fund with actually one of the Chinese billionaires and a Russian billionaire and some other folks. I'm the poor guy on the fund. I get the breadcrumbs, but they're nice breadcrumbs sometimes, Anyhow, so I do that. I've done 16 companies. My first one at 21. I didn't know what I was doing. I was real lucky. I was like, Dumb and Dumber on that one, but it turned out to be pretty interesting. It was construction tech. I built about $9 million worth of houses at the time, and it got me into the bug. And basically, where I am today is I'm looking for AI companies in unsupervised and semi-supervised AI across multiple vertical markets. And I have an impact fund too, a $100 million impact fund in Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you so much, Gary, for that introduction.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Irina, who joins us at 5 a.m. US time, I guess. Morning. Good morning. How are you? We can't hear you.
It's 6. I woke up at 5, but 6, so it's fine. I was thinking, and this works. It only gets us up or gets me up 1 hour earlier, so I get like a whole hour for my day now. It's a pleasure to be back. Thank you so much. It's November and Halloween is past, so costumes are in closets and for the next time. My name is Irina Litchfield. many know me as a crypto superwoman. I'm founder of Blockchain Cubed. Blockchain Cubed is an integration consulting firm for blockchain technology with traditional tech, financial technology for the most part. I am a president of Lemeria. Lemeria is where capital meets innovation. Growth stage companies is where I work with. Changing the way we do business in global capital markets is my goal. You know, the finance industry is broken, and I'm working on fixing this. So, as Florian said, very, very well, I agree with you 100%. It's a pleasure to be here. Impact is important. Impact investment is important. Now we look at the measurements of impact in all kinds of companies. So, you know, it's the key whether you doing construction or you building aerospace company or, you know, you're building a farm.
Thank you so much, Irena. I have to admit, I have learned a lot from Irena. So guys, we're all done with the introductions. Let's go for the questions. I have a lot of questions for Sim as well, because Sim shared some kind of information before we went, before she came into the show. Sim, can you just tell us about the trends in the field of sustainable investments? What's happening in the space? How is the space moving or evolving? Because it's difficult to measure that impact and not making profits. You know, that's a big challenge of this industry. Can you just share some lights on that?
To be honest, Sani, thank you so much for your question. You know, in comparison to some of these panelists, I perhaps do not have as much knowledge on the impact investment space as an entrepreneur. But, you know, what I think moving forward is really important is the decoupling between the importance of the world's issues, such as gender equality, poverty, health and well-being, which, you know, the COVID-19 has shed light on. But I think it's really important as well, like you said, to make sure that we just don't look at the financial returns. And I think that is a struggle with investment on a whole. And I think really we need to make sure that impact investors can actually understand the passion and the purpose of a business, actually try to relate to something that is imperative to them, bring in their own insights and help a company grow. You know, for example, you know, just from a Kokaveda perspective as well, you know, we're helping women communities, we're giving them employment opportunities, and we're giving the youth of Singapore opportunities as well. And, you know, as you know, because of COVID-19, it has been a struggle for individuals to find employment. And I think this is where you really need to make sure that you're creating quantifiable impact. Similarly, if you don't actually have, you know, a proper structure or a theory of change model, or you're outlining your environmental, social, or governance sectors, it's very, very challenging. So I think we need to say, as an investor now, actually realize whether there's greenwashing tactics going on in businesses, or are they actually committing to sustainability? So that's a little bit of insight from me. I'm sure the panelists will be able to elaborate much, much more, but that's a little bit of trends from my side.
Thank you, Sim. Thank you. Thank you. That's very good for a start. Thank you so much. Kathy, would you like to share some of the insights coming from you?
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I realized that especially with COVID-19, it has created a lot of pressure across different sectors. So different people are hit differently. And I think that's the cruelest part, because we've realized that not all stakeholders are affected equally. And many of the world's most vulnerable groups are being hit the most and bearing the brunt of the effect of the health and economic crisis. So for instance, I think around 2 billion people, and a disproportionate amount of youth, women, and historically disadvantaged racial groups. They are working in more informal employment, and therefore they are more susceptible to these job losses and labor abuses. And also along the same train of thought, individuals with this demographic say historically have significantly weaker safety nets, so leaving them most vulnerable to these financial shocks and food insecurity. And I think COVID-19 really highlighted this. So we are definitely seeing the widest discrepancies in history. And I think with impact investing, it is very important to highlight the good work that is being done. So for impact investing, while it might not be as straightforward as typical financial yields, it is no excuse to not put a metric to it. So in order to better encourage more people in the impact investing field, I think it is important for companies to set very clear metrics on their on the outcomes of their work. And so, for instance, that can be in different forms, such as how many people are being lifted out of poverty, or maybe more observable or quantifiable metrics, such as how many tons of carbon emissions are being reduced just by having the technology available from the startup. But yeah, I would definitely love to hear the other panelists' thoughts on how to better measure impact across these different the different sectors.
Sure, Kathy, and welcome to VCTV. Thank you so much for your insights. Next, I move to Clara. Hi, Clara. Same question, your insights.
Hi, I'm not going to give you, the insights the other investors will be able to give in terms of like the measurement metric, but really, I think, these ESG issues have always been part and parcel of investment process. It's just that it was not well codified, but things have changed in the recent years that we've seen. In Singapore, we have an example. We have two sovereign wealth funds, and one of them has made this a mandate. So Temasek has launched a lot of initiatives around sustainability, and they have specific guidelines that they follow for investing in companies. And the idea for, in my opinion, the idea for impact investing to really have the impact that it claims to have is really providing more than just returns, but also for the ecosystem, something that people can take away from. For instance, providing them with access to, providing the companies that the investors invest in, providing them access to like network, mentors, and basically we're building that brand as a something to attract top talent to contribute. So it's not just about the dollars and cents, in my opinion.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. It's not about the dollars and cents. Absolutely, Carol. Thank you so much. Florian, over to you now with the same question. Hi, Florian.
Sorry.
Yeah, over to you, please.
What question did you want me to answer?
What are the current trends you see in the field of impact and sustainable investments?
Yeah, I think the trends are clear. We have some big global problems like climate change that we need to tackle. So there's a lot going on in that space. Then the other areas where I think there is a major necessity to do something is the pollution with plastic in the ocean. So coming up with new technologies that help us clean the oceans. And in general, to live more sustainable on this planet. It's also very clear now that our diet is one of the main problems for the planet, the way we eat and the meat production and the animal products. So we see more and more the trend of people changing towards a more vegetarian, plant-based diet. And I think Corona has amplified their diet. You see more and more people stop eating meat or reduce their meat as a sign, not only for their own personal health, but also for the health of the planet and for the well-being of these animals. So I think that's where we all can work together, especially in the diet, because everyone can change the diet. You don't have to, protest and ask your government to do something about it. It's something you can do on your own. And that's what we try to encourage. We try to encourage safe responsibility for your own actions. Like, you can offset your carbon footprint, you can change your diet, you can drive electric cars. There's a lot of things you can do. You don't have to wait for others to make laws, or to come up with new products. There's a lot of products already available. I think these are the main trends that we see in the sustainability space.
Yeah, thank you for, as you said, you can change your diet. You don't have to ask government. Like, people do change from normal diet to keto in a day. Why not? Like plant-based, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Florian. Gary, I see Gary smiling. Gary, your insights, please.
Just like that, you can change your diet. Snap, I wish it was that easy. But you're right. So, look at the picture we have today. The population of the planet Earth has quadrupled in the last 100 years. We're about 7.9 billion. The amount of potable water you can drink has dramatically decreased. In fact, in a few years, there'll be more water wars for fresh water sources. I remember a few years ago, one of the Princeton professors I met out at Caltech, and a company was formed called Planalytics, a long-range weather forecasting. And his name's Irving Crick, extremely famous, one of Einstein's students. I met him when he was 80-some years old, incredible guy. Anyhow, we had discussions because he had a long-range weather forecasting model. The company's called Planalytics today. And I spent 9 months with him, working with him. And some of the things he would tell me about weather were just incredible, right? It's a non-reoccurring phenomenon, or it's a recurring phenomenon, but it doesn't happen linearly. It happens in patterns over time. And think about how much weather has an impact on our business and where we are today. So if we look at it by 2050, South Vietnam will disappear the way we're going right now. Alexandria, Egypt will be gone, and most of Shanghai. Miami will be underwater. Fort Lauderdale will be underwater. Key West, Florida will be underwater. The average since 1957, the levels that have come up, and I'll tell you Florida because I happen to be coronavirus locked into Florida, not Silicon Valley where I normally am. But it's up 8 inches on the beach in the Keys, 8 inches. The entire state of Florida has averaged 26 inches above sea level. The entire state of Florida will be underwater. Think about the other thing. I remember Dr. Crick told me, he said, Gary, it's not about just the climate change, it's the impact that it's going to have, like super hurricanes, like the Gulf Stream slowing down, and so the food sources because of supply chain. We have those kind of issues. The good news is we understand it, and we have to solve these sooner than later. When it's not going to happen. So if I do something today, the impact may not be for 20 or 30 years, and soon we'll be at a point of no return, right?
Yeah.
But remember this. I mean, I remember Elon Musk back in the early 2000s. People thought he was insane. He took his money from PayPal, bet it on Tesla. I remember directly because I happened to be going back and forth from the Valley. I stopped at one of his first dealerships on 101 directly, and people thought he was crazy. Now the situation, he's a hero, right?
Yeah.
So, but it takes thinking out of the box in order to do this, and it's not easy, right? So we need to think differently. We now understand that there's an incredible challenge. I mean, at some point in time, we've got to understand, where to go. There's 6 billion Earth-like planets in our solar system, an estimated 200 trillion galaxies within the solar system. So, I mean, we need to explore differently. I got that from one of the NASA astronauts on VCTV, by the way. Anyhow, so I personally am interested in impact investing with the Black community worldwide. I've been doing this for 12 years. I believe I'm really concerned because there aren't a lot of Black male or female role models in tech. So we actually created a $100 million fund. I have one of the board members of the NAACP, which is a top group worldwide of Blacks, founded by Martin Luther King, on our board. And I believe that, part of it is starting and nurturing that community. So globally, the underserved, right? Creating jobs. Now we democratize it with Zoom. Now let's figure out how we can create some jobs and my thing is take AI companies and plant them in some of these cities, bring them on and mentor them and tutor them so they can become leaders. So anyhow, that's where we are. But yes, we have challenges that need to be met. It may not be in our lifetime where we're going to be underwater swimming with the fish, but it's going to happen.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you for sharing the fund that you're building for the Black community. A really, really noble idea. Thank you so much. Irina, over to you. Please, floor is all yours.
As we're looking at the developments of health and life expansion technology as well, it's becoming obvious that we might find ourselves in a long-term engagement with our lives. And so, Gary, maybe we will, and hopefully we will. So that's an interesting way of thinking of the world, because we used to live in a world where I'm going to leave somewhere between 50 to hopefully like 100 years, right? And that's all. And then after that, everything expires. But now we finally have the ability to say, okay, well, maybe if I can make it another 30 years, I can make another 100 after that. And so that puts a long-term planning for yourself into reality. I think kids would really appreciate what I would say right now, because he always talks about measurements, and I really keep that in mind a lot now, is that we must measure the impact, right? We need to understand what impact is, and in order to understand that, we measure it. And in order to measure it, we need to think how we do that. And basically, we can measure impact in food, water, air, and health, right? So if there's any of those aspects that what you're doing, what you're building in your company, you can measure that impact, it really is great. And the reason is because then investors, it's much easier for them to invest in, right? A lot of impact is happening in a space development, actually. What we're doing for the space exploration and space settlement directly affects our lives here. And bringing it back to space again, interestingly, many people who are the stars of the space exploration right now are driven to do what they're doing because they want to save our planet, because they want to make our planet better, right? So Milano wants to build a settlement on the Mars. Jeff Bezos wants to take the kind of a industrial production into the outer space, and it's everybody is motivated by saving our planet. And I think that's really great messaging, because those that are doing most amazing jobs, those that are went and moved the mountains, their motivation is to save our planet, to make our planet better. And that, to me, that's wonderful. Obviously, whatever innovations we look at, we see that impact is at top of our minds. I mean, look at the beginning of the year. Nobody cared about. Most of people did not care about food, water, or air. And as soon as our current reality started becoming what it is right now, it became really obvious that we care. We care about the quality of air, for example. So air filters, indoor air filters have increased in sales dramatically. The kind of a health products, the nutrients, the kind of a health supplements business are growing. They're just growing and expanding at such a large scale. People really care. They care about how they breathe. They care about how they eat, and they have time to kind of slow down, be back at home, and say, okay, it does matter. It matters. I care about what I breathe. I care about the water that I'm drinking. Obviously, we do have a lot of people that are in a not great position right now. I'm sure many of you heard about the kind of a economy of K, right? So those that are privileged, they're doing very well. And you'll see that a lot, that they will say, we're doing great, everything's great, things have been better than ever, besides the fact that we're not traveling. And a lot of people are still traveling and are back to traveling. But those that are on the bottom, for them, it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I think that one of the solutions we need to find is to be able to kind of stop that K, right? We need to elevate that bottom line going down, and kind of see how do we facilitate, how do we make us Zoomers more Zoomers, right? Those people that rely on physical labor to pay their bills and bring food to their homes and bring shelter to their families, they do not have ability to do what we are doing. And I think that this is I believe that AI, for example, is going to provide a lot of kind of adoption to maybe learning or interacting with people to help them make those changes. I always say emotional AI, and I think about you, Gary, and I think that that's such a beautiful thing. And emotional AI is an impact as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Irina, I think you're making a good point. I would like to add one more thing. I think Gary also mentioned before traveling to other planets. I think before we start traveling to other planets, we should learn how to live sustainable on our own first. Otherwise, we're going to be like the people in Avatar that went to another planet just to exploit that planet again. So I think that's the first step we have to do, start to live sustainably on this planet. And for this, I agree with Gary that, it's really important to have AI. I always wonder why, we have AI and these robots that can play with other kids, but we don't have robots that just clean up the beach or do these things that need to be done. This is where I think, we should put our efforts in to develop AI that helps us solve these problems, cleaning up the oceans, cleaning the beaches, planting trees, doing work that people don't want to do, and help us fix the issues or fix the problem that we are causing.
Absolutely.
I want to add something though. So it's interesting what you're saying, and that's a standpoint of a lot of people. But when you start looking at why it's important for us to go and settle the space, it actually you will understand that it allows us to build a lot of innovation for living better on Earth. Because you see, the thing about it is space always tries to kill you, okay? It is not something where you go and float and things are beautiful and you just, it constantly tries to kill you. The margin for error there is basically non-existent, right? And what that means for us? Well, it means that we need to start thinking of solutions that are going to be lasting. You cannot, if you make a mistake and your air turns into poison, it's not like you can open the window and let the air in, right? You need to make sure that you can, for example, if you're settling, right, and you need to build your garden needs to be working within inside of your environment. And so when we start thinking about it, we understand that the solutions that we need for space directly affect the way we live here on Earth and improve our lives here on Earth. So, and that's why a lot of space companies during this time have pivoted to creating solutions to actually consumers here on Earth, and not just kind of creating business for when we do the settlement. We're going, there's no way of stopping us. We're going to settle, and there's a big race that's happening. And what's important is that entrepreneurs all over the world now have ability to create solutions and make our lives better here. You will not need to go anywhere to receive the benefits of space settlement. That technology will make your life better here.
Sorry, Sonny, do you mind if I just make one quick comment as well, if that's okay?
Sure.
It's just regarding the trends question on a whole. I mean, if we look at trends in general, I personally feel whilst it is a good thing, a lot of, sustainability is often misinterpreted for being environmental impact only. I just like to, shift individuals' perspective just a little bit, at least, because that's what I'm just trying to advocate here. If you look at kids in Africa, for example, at this point in time, and you talk about quality education, they don't even have access to Wi-Fi to study at this point in time. And, if we don't actually educate our younger generation on sustainability, how exactly are we supposed to grow together and change the world on a whole? So I feel it's great that we're speaking about topics like climate change and topics about plastic pollution and other environmental aspects as well, deforestation, for example. But at the same time, I think at the center of sustainability, it's all driven by people. And I think at the end of the day, we really need to make sure that we're doing this in an efficient way and using amazing tools like the panelists have spoken about, AI or technology, to really drive this. So that's a little bit about what I think is also important. And I don't necessarily feel that sustainability should be influencing individuals just because it's a trend. Often now, if you look at large corporates, they're actually only creating impact because it's a trend or it's a compliance, something that's very mandatory. So that's just my 2 cents as a youth, person, of course. Yeah.
Thank you for adding those points. Really, I agree to that. I just wanted to ask you as well as a next question. So as a 23-year-old entrepreneur, what kind of challenges did you face while probably raising your initial seed funding for incorporating your company, sort of hiring those first people? How it's not a fintech, it's not a health tech, you know what I mean? It's not a fintech startup. People are more like, they want to be in the banking and the finance world. And even though, as you rightly said, the sustainability is something that the enterprises are creating, not so much individuals like us, for how easy, how difficult it was for you to raise your first round of funding, and how did it go about, and what advice do you have to founders who are struggling to get their first round of funding in impact or sustainable field?
Sure, Sani. I'll answer this question in a couple of sections, of course. Firstly, we're still applying for funding, so we've not, closed the deal. We've signed a few agreements, but it's still under discussion. There are quite a few aspects, when you look at sustainability, but I'd just like to link this at least to my own business. We are a health and wellness social enterprise, so we've manufactured the products, but we're using blockchain traceability to really make sure that we're quantifying the impact that we're making. So each of the boxes that are coming out of Singapore are going to have a QR code, so the consumer can actually see who made the product. So giving our women digital identities and creating this inclusive business model, tracing it back to the farm, actually showcasing this organic certifications. There's often this question whether our products are actually certified, uploading this. So we have a Silicon Valley blockchain partner who's supporting us. Similarly, of course, we're going to showcase which location it is at this point in time. So in a way, I think a tech element and a tech story is extremely important. It is the future, and I think the COVID-19 has only amplified this. We also are using majority of our assets all, digitally. So we're using e-commerce platforms. With regard to some of your questions about, how challenging it is challenging, because I haven't just spoken to impact investors. I've spoken to investors in general. And the first question that they ask, as Clara, very well said, it's the dollars and cents. What is your return on investment? What, profits are you bringing? How fast can you scale? And how fast can you triple or more, my money? And so it's tough to explain, as at least as social entrepreneur, that yes, we, in the long run, will be able to be bankable in the future, but in the beginning, it might be, initial growth. And so it's really a conversation that needs to be discussed with like-minded investors, people who believe in your passion. And I think there needs to be a strong relationship. And I think, honestly, in the future, impact investment is really going to be the next big thing. So I hope more companies can do better work together. So that's a little bit of my insight.
Thank you, Sim. Thank you for sharing those. I mean, it's really, encouraging for other founders in social space as well. Kathy, I'd like to ask you in continuation to what Sim said, her challenges, in terms of investors. So what are your advice in terms of best practice? I mean, as an investor, if between a fintech startup and a health tech or a social impact startup, how do you see, like, which one you're going to, I mean, you're sector agnostic, I know that, but still your views when it comes to investments.
Right. No, I was just listening to what Sim said, and I totally agree with what she's trying to get at, because I think it is very difficult to quantify the impact of startups that are focusing more on impact and raising awareness on impact. And even though we had a rousing discussion previously about how to measure impact, I feel that we couldn't really come to terms with what exactly are the metrics. And I think that in itself presents a great opportunity, because it is very difficult to draw meaningful conclusions about impact investment performance, especially because it is still gaining traction and it is up and coming new form of investment that we are not yet used to. So there is a lack of available data from previous years. There is a very short history of the industry as a whole, and the returns are definitely very uncertain. So the lack of clarity over the sort of appropriate definition of market return actually presents a great opportunity for us, because there is a lot of chances for us to improve and redefine the way how capital can be allocated and how these returns can be measured. And it also appears that I think right now we are moving towards the right direction to achieve these aims for the benefit of startups or any groups that require more funding to tackle social and global issues at large. But I think at the crux of it, as an investor looking at a social enterprise, the most important thing is to define the impact very clearly, to make sure that the investor and the startup are on the same page, and also to come up with very quantifiable goals at the end of every cycle of fundraising, so as to match up with the expectations. And ultimately, I believe that intentions, they drive your actions. So if there is an agreement between the investors and if the agreement between the investors and the startups is mainly focused on financial milestones, that is something that will drive decisions, and that is not what we're looking for in impact investing. So definitely defining impact at the very beginning is crucial.
Intentions drive actions. Thank you so much, Kathy, for those inputs. I mean, really needing good points. Thank you so much. Very quickly, Clara, conscious of the time, 20 more minutes. So would you like to add something about the metrics to measure impact in investments and what challenges do startups face?
I think definitely like innovation, and sustainability, they're closely interlinked. So while as the earlier speakers have also mentioned that there is no definition of how do you measure impact, and right now impact investors are also struggling with that. To be honest, there are certain guidelines that we are following, and of course, the UN SDGs, when that was put together, like I think in 2015, it did a great job. Except that we haven't moved much since then. So now it's really measuring impact about, I see it from a country perspective, right? How much can it add to the economy? How many jobs can it add? And is it sustainable in the long run? Like in Singapore, by 2030, we want to grow 30% of our own food, because right now 90% is imported. So will we meet those goals? So those are the metrics I think at the country level we can look at. It'll be relevant for Singapore, and I think our government has taken an approach to really quantify that. But does it work for in Germany or in America? I think they have very different metrics to look at.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much for sharing those metrics, Singapore centric as well. Thank you so much, Clara. Florian, you've got something to say on the impact. Please go ahead.
Yes, I would like to add a little note on how to measure impact, and agree totally with what Kathy Lu just said, but also with Sim's comment on education and the social aspect. And so I think from my research into measuring impact and sustainability, what we have found to be a very practical solution is what's called the triple bottom line. So you're measuring not only the profit you generate for like investors and people involved, but also the social impact and the environmental impact. So you have these three balance sheets, more or less. One is the financial balance sheet, managing, capturing your financial output, which should be positive. It should be within a positive economic environment that you're launching your company, but also what do you do on a social side? What value are you adding to social life? In my company, we're providing universal basic income. So we're sending money for free unconditionally to our users. So that's measured in our social balance sheet and helps these people to, improve their education, improve their lifestyle, and in general, improve their happiness. That's what our goal is. And on the other side, we measure how much money we invest into currently reforestation, how much money we give to the planet to deal with the climate. And this is what we call the triple bottom line. You have these three aspects, and when they are all positive, that is a positive triple bottom line. That is what I found to be one of the simplest and most straightforward ways to measure impact. It's not on a detailed level. Obviously, the details then depend on how you're measuring your impact, what are you doing, but we measure how much of our money and time we spend on these three different balance sheets.
Excellent. Florian has a triple bottom line to measure his impact to the society. And thank you so much, Florian, for adding those. I'd like to next move to Gary. Gary, over to you, please.
Yeah, so what question do you want me to, the same as Florian or what?
Yeah, how to measure impact, and because startups, as Sim rightly said and Kathy rightly said, startups are always facing challenges in terms of when investors are asking how exactly I'm going to measure the impact. If we invest, we need to see your profits. So what's your advice to those investors and startups?
I mean, the thing is, it's, the one thing is you look at it, Sonny, and it's, the one thing I keep close to the heart is that with each one of these projects, and I've had discussions with, NAACP, met with lots of folks about it. The one thing is show that you've got a sustainable business model, that the company's a real company, that's a revenue generating company. I mean, not something that's just entitlement, right? That actually is something that is going to make an impact and difference. So whenever I do that, no matter who it is, I want to make sure that there's an impact and they're generating some revenue and they're accomplishing the goals. So it's bringing Blacks into the company, that can help. I mean, it's not just a given. It's like, come on, we're going in this together. Let's build a company together and let's help. And we actually, one of my Black actor friends, actually, who's been my friend for many years, actually, I got him to go to Stanford and Harvard and take courses in AI. That he's a rapper, he's a movie star, he's all kinds of stuff. So he went incognito and did it. And, got into, it took a VP of business development job. Here's a, pretty well-known Black actor doing it just to prove it could be done. And he did it. And the situation is we need to set role models. We need to show results, right? From my perspective. So and what we do is we plant the hottest AI companies on the planet into the environment. So you know that they're going to grow and then bring people into these exciting times. And that from my standpoint, that's, measured as by the results that you get, right? And so one is we're accomplishing the social piece. Two is they're generating a real business that can grow and they can grow with it. So, and it's not going to happen. I did it in Russia, by the way. So in Russia, we were the first startup accelerator. People said, one is you couldn't have women and there weren't a lot of women that were in the startup world at the time. So we financed half of the class for female entrepreneurs. And now those female entrepreneurs have really grown out. We've had thousands through the Startup Academy, but they said it couldn't be done. What you got to do is you got to go out and mine it. Yes, you got to invest a little in the front end of it, but then you got to make it so it's a self-sustaining business. And that's it. Just keep it simple. This is like, if you're going to invest, how do you invest personally? You invest in something that's going to grow. Yes, that's the same thing. You do a little investment on the front end. So.
Right, great. That's diversity and inclusion. Thank you, Gary. Irina, over to you, please.
Yeah, I think that education is really important. When we think about impact, we think about food, we think about water, we think about air, we think about health. And I want to bring organic into this because and that's why I'm saying that education is important, because you see, organic practices are not best practices that bring impact or save our planet, nor are they good for your food. Organic practices is something that comes from 60s that was placed together by an organization. And for example, in organic practices, it's okay to use tilling. Tilling causes direct loss of topsoil. We have less than 100 years of topsoil. Watch Kiss the Land, okay? It's gonna explain to you exactly everything you need to know about regenerative farming. So I would say do not spend your money in organic, because it is just exactly that. It's that label, okay, that makes you think and feel good, but it does not bring good to our planet. And that's why really we want to think regenerative, okay? The sustainable word, if we think about it, we build the sustainable systems right now, okay? And we think that we know best right now. And then 100 years from now, we're paying, right? So the next generations usually pay for us building the sustainable systems. And remember, we've always, as humans, always think that we're better and smarter than anybody ever was, until the next generation comes and says, oh, those people, what were they doing? Didn't they see all this? We constantly must count on evolution. And if we're going to talk about impact, we must talk about regeneration. And again, organic is actually bringing a lot of problems into the world, because it does a lot of bad. It is not good. It's just exactly that. It's that label that allows you to charge more and cost more too. It's not actually the most profitable or best way for us to make an impact. So I'd like to finish with that. We need to make better analysis. We need to understand better what impact we're doing for our planet. And the biggest crisis right now is the loss of topsoil. And I've said that once, I said it twice, I said it 100 times, and I will keep repeating it. If you guys watch the movie, Kiss the Land, you will see that basically based to assessments that they're saying there, it's less than 60 years. That means that many of you are going to see, if we don't do anything, we're going to see hunger all over the world. And there's no growing meat that is going to help us. Okay, so we must think regenerative. We need to start having better identifications of what we're doing. And again, remember, if you're growing business, if you have an impact, if you know how to, you can trap carbon, okay, you basically, have a measurable impact. If you can show how you can make difference in air, okay, water, and then health, which is also food, you have a good plan. Just make sure that, and those metrics are out there already. So you can reach out to Keith. He is one of the speakers, and I'm sure he's not here today, but he's one of the speakers on VCTV. You can find him on the link, and I'm sure he will be able to, provide you with great templates and research.
Thank you, Irina. We just have less time. Kathy obviously is leaving in 5 minutes. Kathy, thank you so much for your time today. I have Sim, who is going to present 1 minute, has a presentation for 1 minute about how to measure impact. So Kathy, just before you leave, I just want to ask you, what's your feedback about VCTV? Because we would like to have you back again on our show.
I think VCTV is a great platform for us to have a huge range of different diverse panelists, and it has been very engaging, and this has been a great session. And I think just to end off, it is very important to encourage impact investing, and not just startups but also investors. I think it is important to encourage them to really demand for more impactful outcomes beyond just the traditional financial returns. And only then can we truly see a shift in investment dollars in creating a more sustainable world with real change. And I hope that this has been a very meaningful session for everyone. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy.
It's been a great pleasure.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Be back. Bye. Okay, Sim. Yeah, please quickly present your slide.
Yes, I think I'm still unable to because of the disabled participant screen sharing.
Carol, can you please make Sim the host? We are running short of time. All right, Carol, you there? All right. Can you try now? Yeah, can you make Sim the host, please?
Excuse me?
Yeah, Sim is going to share something very quickly.
Oh, sure. Okay. All right, you're ready to share.
Sure, thank you so much. I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
It's just going to take 1 minute. Apologies. This is something that I'd presented once to a government summit event, and perhaps something that might be helpful as well for the audience. This is how we're doing it in our business, for example. You type in the inputs as to what exactly is your impact of the initiative that you're doing. For example, you're mentoring and training some communities, and then you say what impact have you already made, so that you've trained, for example, 20 women in 2019, and this is the amount of hours that you've done, and you can align it to the SDGs, which becomes your outcome, and then your social impact is what is the end goal. So for example, giving employment or financial independence. And then you can obviously quantify that into, as Carol mentioned, a bit earlier, on how you can, quantify it into a dollar value. So that's something that you can add. It's very straightforward. And of course, the ESG model or the triple bottom line is something else that you can add on. I hope that was helpful.
Sim, that was really quick, as you rightly said. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I mean, obviously, yeah, quite impactful in that sense. Okay, great. We just have 6 more minutes before we close. So I just want to take some closing remarks from the new speakers. Obviously, Sim is here. Sim, what's your closing remarks for the session tonight and the feedback about VCTV? Because we would like to have you back on the show.
Sure. Thank you so much. So I'd just like to obviously, end with thank you so much again, VCTV and of course LATOKEN for the opportunity. My closing remarks really is that in order to really close and make sure that we're no longer widening the gap for inequalities and creating a better world for our future generation, we really need to focus on conscious capitalism and conscious consumerism. This obviously may require a deeper discussion, and I hope everybody is as passionate as me. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, and of course with the fantastic speakers. And thank you again for such a well-organized session. It was lovely to learn from everybody else.
Welcome, and thank you so much.
I really like your background, the sustainable development goals, very inspirational. So thank you for that, and obviously
thank you so much.
Your comments and your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Clara, your closing remarks, please.
Thanks for having me back again today. Second time, and the first time, I met Irina and Gary as well. So very glad to see familiar faces. And sustainable development really concerns all of us. And at any chance where I have an opportunity to join in the conversations, I'd love to do that again.
Thank you. And what's your feedback on VCTV before we go offline?
I think it's great. I think every time I come, I get a different experience and I meet different people. We get involved in different topics. But one thing is for sure, I think everybody is very passionate about what they do. It's very inspiring.
Thank you so much. And we're definitely going to have you back. Thank you, Clara. Florian.
Unmute. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you for the invite again. And today, I think, was from all the VCTV sessions the most pleasant for me, to be honest. I really enjoyed the audience. I'm so happy that we have so many power women on this audience this time, because I really think the change that's coming will require more and more female energy, as the masculine energy, has caused some problems in the past. So I'm hoping for more women to be in power. And I'm glad that young women like Sim are taking initiatives here, and that so many of you, have started your own businesses and have become entrepreneurs. So I also found it interesting that we have a lot of people from Singapore in today's discussion. I know Singapore is one of the leading places for sustainability, the green city. It's a bummer because I wanted to spend the months in Singapore in May, but that's where COVID really prevented me from traveling there. But I hope that I will find the time there, because it's a city that inspires sustainability. And so I think it was no surprise to have so many female entrepreneurs from Singapore on today's call about sustainability. I would say great match.
Thank you so much, Florian, for those kind words. Sim, well done.
Thank you.
So you've
so
created
much.
a lot of impact today.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for everybody's, encouragement, for the next generation. That really means the world. And I hope there are more people like you as well who really support our journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Irina, your closing remarks, please.
It's a pleasure to be here. I love our discussions, and that's the way we stay connected now all over the world and meet new people and see people that we already know. It's always a pleasure. I wake up extra early in the morning just to have these conversations with you guys, just to connect with you. And to me, at least to me, that means a lot. And I really appreciate you. I appreciate everyone that participates. I appreciate our audience. I appreciate your mission, what you guys are doing. It's really beautiful. And every single episode gets better and better and better. And there's so much more. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to being back.
Thank you. And thanks a lot for your commitment besides the information that you share. Thank you. Gary, over to you, please.
Yeah, I'm getting up early too, Irina. No, it's great. So closing thoughts, I think that, we, in fact, while we were on here, one of the NASA astronauts was rating me. And he and I had talked about sustainability about 2 weeks ago. It's we talk about a lot. The key is action taking place. So people talk about a lot about impact, but it's taking money out of your pocket and doing it, right? So it's across the board. So whether it's sustainability or social impact, I mean, there's a lot that needs to be done. In terms of VCTV, I think that this is great. Enjoy being here. I was up at 4 o'clock this morning. Now we're early because I got the wrong time. I was up.
Oh,
Anyhow, I was up this morning, so I love it. I mean, I can, I'm speaking 3 to 5 times around the world every day, whether it's on VCTV or my own shows, that kind of thing. So I love it. I think that getting the word out is critically important. And I have a daughter that's 23 that works for IBM in the AI group. And I have a son that's 25 that's a clinical psychologist, a socially oriented clinical psychologist. So there's a lot out there, and I'm glad that this generation's doing it. But I'm also the other thing is we don't want to forget that the intergenerational folks have a lot of practical experience and knowledge, and more importantly, the contacts to make stuff happen. And sometimes the startups forget about it.
wow, Gary, that you shared some personal story today. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with all the audience as well. I think it's very inspiring for.
Sonny, I had to. You got your Minnie Mouse there. I had to talk about it today.
All right, cool. I think it's not Minnie Mouse, it's Sim who inspired you. But anyways, I take the credit. Minnie Mouse takes the credit. Thank you so much, Gary, for those closing remarks and your commitment. I mean, 6 a.m., 4 a.m., like a competition, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure what time it is anymore. At nighttime, I'm on with Asia, and morning early, I'm on with Russia. Then I got Bangladesh. Then I got Indonesia. I don't even know what time is anymore.
Ooh.
But I'm much
Gary,
more efficient. Sonny, we're much more efficient these days because of Zoom and not having to waste time traveling.
So that explains the productivity, the efficiency of work, right? I mean,
yes,
basically.
unbelievable. Much more efficient, many more meetings. And now that people have accepted it, we're in a whole new, I knew this was going to happen, right? People start to buy into it and it's going to change behavior, and it's happening. I remember when we got started in March doing these time frame. I mean, things have changed. People accept it now.
Absolutely. It's a new norm. Thank you so much. We're at the end of the show. Founders who are looking to reach out to Gary, Irina, Florian, Clara, you can find them on our website. Go and look for them. And investors and speakers who like to participate in these panels and contribute their ideas and insights with other like-minded speakers, please go to our website and check us out. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time and a very, very informative and I would say very energetic panel today, starting from Sim up until, I mean, goes further than that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, making it fun, engaging. And I hope to see you back all in another session, another topic. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay connected. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.